Here we are at Jim's surprise birthday party before Jim's here.
No, happy birthday, Pastor. Happy birthday, Pastor. Many more.
Thank you very much. Happy birthday, Pastor.
All right.
Happy birthday, Pastor.
She doesn't speak. Everybody wave. Good.
I really don't have any. I'm looking forward to him to tell me some wisdoms of
Say happy birthday to Jim.
Happy birthday, Jim. You've lived till 50 now. Keep the good life until 70.
Here you go.
Put in another 50.
My pastor is really happy to be able to celebrate with you, and we know you're gonna really have a good year.
Well, feel free to say something. Just jump right in.
Happy birthday.
There you go. Very good.
Happy birthday, Pastor Jim. Happy birthday, Pastor.
Oh,
We
sure.
have many more.
All right.
No hearing aid?
No hearing aid yet.
Want to hear this ovation?
Yes, all right.
I'll just stick that on so that you don't stick yourself.
Yeah,
You want to take your coat off and stay a while?
yeah.
You might not want to stay too long.
Well, I probably should have smelled something when you guys were up here. It takes a lot to get you up here.
That was a good basketball game, by the way. We really came up for the basketball game. This was just an afterthought. That stays on your head. That stays on your head.
You're gonna take a knife and slice
No, you just balance it carefully. You just walk carefully.
Boy, I thought I was embarrassed last night.
No, Jim, you were embarrassing last.
I can do that at the table here. You're slow.
Okay.
We'll enact them to them.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jim. Happy birthday to you.
Read the sign.
Well, thank you.
Hey! 1922.
We'll stop there. Now, I just want you to be aware that, you saw me blow this up, right? Okay. This is what happens when a normal person blows up a balloon. See the ones that have to be tied down or they'll float away? Pastor Jim blew them up. Jerry, I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you lead us in a word of prayer and then we can eat?
No, please. Way over on the other side. See, she doesn't use You don't use for me.
Now, if you're a boomer or the parent of a boomer, you know this phrase from a popular TV show for kids many years ago. What time is it?
Howdy time.
Let's do that again, only let's put a little more feeling into it. What time is it?
It's howdy time.
Okay, this time say, it's roast the pastor time. What time is it? So, if anybody has any little thing they want to say, whether it's serious or a joke or whatever, don't follow my lead because I tend to kind of, get the lower of the comment. So you don't have to try and outdo me as far as sarcasm or rudeness, but if you want to, that's terrific. Anyway, Jim, I do have one question for you, and it's not whether or not you got a hearing aid or where did the throat go. But just how many people do you think lied to you in the last 24 hours?
Well, I'd say most everybody that's close to me.
Well, and we just want you to know that we're going to continue with that. But
Ted,
He's such a nice
he should
guy.
tell you what he's gonna preach on tomorrow.
What is the sermon topic, by the way?
Well, I just feel compelled to change. I was gonna go on something positive, but I think I'm gonna go with deceit.
Well, you know, he's a good pastor and a good role model. I mean, that's everything I learned about deceit. No, actually, that's not true. Somebody asked me, I don't know who it was, that gentleman right there, asked me if, what kind of big brother Jim was when I was growing up. And I gotta tell you, when I stopped to think about it, I don't think Jim fought with the other siblings. I don't think Amy fought with the other siblings. I know Connie probably didn't fight with the other siblings. They all fought with me. Or I fought with them. I gotta tell you though, I really had to work hard to get Jim to blow his stack. But you know, there were a couple of times it happened. And most often he would resort to just sitting on me. But there was one time in the barn, and I really got him going. I mean, you know, and I'm accepting responsibility now. All these years later, I will now accept responsibility. And
Well, what he was doing is, we were milking cows, and you know how you bend over to milk, and he was the cow behind me? He was squirting it down where my shirt and pants would come together. July or whatever, hot and flies, you know. And you don't want to go any further in your mind with that, but that's what set me off.
what did you do then, Pastor Jim? What godly move?
I went over, I picked him up by his shirt collar, and there was a nail sticking out of the wall about that far, and I threw him up so he hung on it for about 2 feet away from it. And then it occurred to me the nail might go in the back of his neck, but maybe what it done us a favor if it would have. That's probably the most violent I ever was to him.
Yeah, no, I no doubt deserved worse. But you know, there's one thing that Jim did to me that you know was really despicable and low. In fact, I had a chance to tell this to one of the directors of the Minnesota Twins here last week when I called them and asked about them stopping at Moose Lake next year on the winter caravan for the Little League fundraiser. I'm the president of the Little League. If you don't know, we like sports. That's reference to Yogi Berra over there. He said it ain't over till it's over. Well, Jim, you're over. And Satchel Paige, the secret to his long life. Don't look back, something might be gaining on you. And, unfortunately, I've been gaining on you. But anyway, so I just commented to the Twins that we really enjoy their winter caravan when the players go around and talk and all this. Oh, you know what I'm going to say. So anyway, you know, here I am. It's 1964, 1965, the heyday of the Minnesota Twins. And Tony Oliva is the biggest star on the planet in Minnesota, you know. I know you were still rooting for Henry Aaron at that time, and so was I, but not as much as Tony O. But we won't get into the discourse of whether or not he should be in the Hall of Fame. What do you think, Jim?
Well, if only he hadn't been injured.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know, people have said that about you. But, so anyway, I was telling you how, you know, the Twins Caravan has always been a great thing, and, you know, I go to it frequently in Duluth, and when I was a kid, they went to a Boy Scout bean feed at Asheville High School, which is down by Sandstone, Asheville, somewhere there. It's a 64 or 65, and we're there. We listen to them talk, and they do their little show, and then afterward, we get to go up and get autographs, and I don't know, who bought the balls? Did you actually think of that, Mom? Somebody provided us with each a baseball anyway. So we went up
Uncle
there.
Don.
I don't know where the baseballs came from, but, you know, we each had a baseball to get autographed, and so, you know, I got a baseball with an autograph of Tony Oliva and Earl Batty, catcher for the Twins in the 60s. Jim Rance, was it? The farm director. Was there another ball player there?
I think maybe Zoil oversized.
Okay, well, anyway, so I had these 3 or 4 Twins autographs on this baseball, you know, and you know, I'm kind of proud of that, you know, that's pretty neat. So I go home and, you know, the next day or two, I pick it up and look at it. And, you know, there was an extra signature on that ball. And to this day, I wished I hadn't. Of course, in my mind, that ruined it. And, of course, we didn't have much money for play stuff, so eventually that baseball got used. And I should have brought it. I forgot about that. But I'm thinking back, because I still have that baseball. But it is all brown and weathered, and, you know, because we played with it for years.
He signed his name.
Well, see, that's the thing. I wished I'd have saved it because to this day, I'm a big sports collector. To this day, I would be the only guy on the planet with a baseball autographed by Tony Oliva, Earl Batty, Jim Rance, and James Mickelson. And now that almost 40 years have gone by and I've forgiven you, here's a nice, clean, new white ball with Tony Oliva.
That was really a poor thing to do. I'm not sure what prompted me to do it. I obviously wasn't thinking clearly.
But it makes for a good story. No, it's not.
And I said to Arl, man, you and Ted and Pastor, you really go all out for it. And I said, but I'm glad about one thing. You're as forceful in the Lord's work as you are in sports. And I like that.
Jim's a good husband too. Just after they were married and still living in the apartment in St. Paul, Debbie decided to start making some Italian food for Jim. She got the wrong garlic, and it was a garlic. It was distilled garlic?
Dill.
Oh, it was dill giving the problem? Oh, I don't understand it was garlic.
We've had most problems.
At any rate, as you probably figured out, it became too heavy in the food. Jim didn't complain, he just got sick willingly and let it go by.
I can never use it again.
Yeah, that was tough.
Well, we're just very fortunate to have Pastor Jim with us. He's been lots of fun this last year. We know he'll have many more years with us. Lots of smiles, lots of laughs, and he could take a joke and he could give a joke, and which is good. Great.
But just keep careful or you'll find yourself hanging from a nail.
Well, it must be the country guys that have the gift of having a jokey side to their life. Pastor Jim is really a guy that you can joke with and kid with. It has to be where your background. You're from the farm, and so am I. And I'm proud of it.
I had coffee with Pastor Jim just yesterday morning. And we were talking about the basketball game, and I shared with him how my son Jay played on, they won the conference 2 years in a row here. We're down in Wisconsin Rapids. And I think being Scandinavian, and I know Jim's Scandinavian, we tend to get a little excited over sports. I think it's Jim Cox, the pitcher you're thinking about, wasn't it? On that baseball one you played? Jim Cox.
Johnny Cox. That only makes it worse, Al. Just
Well, anyway,
that's why you were hard playing baseball.
we were in Wisconsin Rapids, and it was a close game.
The last 10 minutes thing, I can't think of anything funny. We're all at the table going, come on, you gotta have something. I can't think of it.
And he has the pulse of that, so.
Fully folded, right?
Dad, would you like to sing the Mickelson theme song? Are you like to what? Rob would.
Ed, you can sing, but Ed, you can sing.
Yeah, stand up, stand
Well,
up.
as I
People can hear you.
If you're really gonna sing that, I gotta leave the room.
In the car, we speak quite important and we pick on each other. And so often Dad will come up with some rhymes just on the fly of the whistle. And one of them goes kind of like this about the Mickelson family. It was actually came out while we were coming to Radlander. We were driving around and wondering, what people were thinking. So Dad started saying, "Here come the Mickelsons, the merry, merry Mickelsons. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are. So we tell them,
we sang that to Rhonda. But we were biking to school, we were driving our taxi, and we sang it to one time.
Praise the Lord.
Any other words of wisdom, Pastor Jim?
Now remember, you're a reverend in this town, you can't get back at me.
I was a little concerned about my job after last night. But seeing my family together is scary. And I wasn't behaving exactly perfect at the game, but I did figure it was nothing that shouldn't be really called before the conference about. I've seen people louder than that at church meetings before. I think what the Lord's impressed me with as I look at my life got summarized by a guy named Ron Lowe's who lived in Canada. And Ron was not the highest achiever he ever met. One of his full-time jobs after he was married and had a kid one year was mowing lawns. And he borrowed my lawnmower to do it. So he wasn't exactly, Fortune 500 material. But while we're standing outside that parsonage one day after he returned my lawnmower, he said, Pastor Jim, you're one of the richest men I know. And I just said, well, how do you say that? He said, well, you got a nice place to live, you got a nice family, you're able to pay all your bills, and he said, you have a lot of friends. And that's what I got.
Anybody else? I'd just like to say we've certainly been appreciating Pastor's messages and the depth, the insight that he has in when he gets from the Scripture, so the Lord gives him. But then he has a way of, if anyone is really not interested and they tend to want to sleep, you won't let him sleep for long because he'll burst out laughing and he'll wake us up. But I really, seriously, I really appreciate what he has to say and where he's coming from. We don't hear the same illustrations that we've heard 100 times, from this guy and that guy and the other guy, because they're Mickelson jokes.
In other words, he makes them up? Well, I was going to say, for those of you that don't know, I'm married to Dawn, who's Deb's sister, but my folks still live about a mile from Jim's mom. So we moved there when I was, 5 or something like that. So I've known Jim a long time too. And he was our youth leader for a while. And you were talking about his great Bible teaching. One time I remember that we were going around the table, and he apparently taught us very well because we were studying about humility, and he went around the table and asked all of his kids if we were the most humble person at the table. And we all, of course, said no. So it got to the end, and he said, well, then obviously I am.
But we seem to really know all you people.
And especially you!
I could just sense that I was marked man in that church. No, actually, even to this day, 40-some years, 30-some years after 28, how many years since Jim?
So he graduated in
33,
67.
34 years ago, people will still walk up to me in the store from behind and say hi to me. Still happens once in a while. But I just, as a parting shot, and this is for you folks, and you can read into this what you want, but Jim had a long pastored up in Canada, and of course we did make a point to go up there and see him once in a while because it was pretty efficient. And then he moved into Minnesota, but yeah, it was 2 hours farther. Yeah. And we made an effort to get there right away the first time. And then I had to go back because he called and told me that one of the guys in his church found a box of baseball cards in his attic. And so I had to go up and find that 68 mantle. But he's only been here a year, and I've been here, I've been here 4 times already. And, I tell you, I really like the area community. I know that they do. And that's neat. And it's really great.
was a good move for Jim, I really believe that, and I hope that he's here a good long time, because it's a place I like to come to. Anyway, Jim, happy birthday, and don't even think about trying to get even with me in 4 years.
I thought you were gonna say that you wanted to alligator fish.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my brother-in-law, when we moved to Carlson, Minnesota, he had gone up to Canada, and he actually got hooked on fishing in Canada. And otherwise, he always went water skiing. But he started catching fish up there. When we moved to Carlson, he came up once. And he said, you know, this is just too far to go for some place where there's no good fishing, and he never came back. If he had lived long enough to see us here, I'm sure he'd have been over regular, because he really loved fishing. And, you know, of all the jokes and stories I tell, and they're basically all true, although they're my memory, which is not perfect. But the one I remember, I think I only wish I could tell it every Sunday, is I think Joyce and Lori just about fell out of the pew, and almost everybody else with them. I was telling a story about when my eyes were wall-eyed, and I kissed a girl, and she said, I couldn't tell who you were kissing, and I just said as a parting shot, couldn't you shut your eyes? I still remember the impact was just you only wish you had a story like that every Sunday, and unfortunately, I've only had maybe 3 or 4 dozen humiliating experiences like that, but that's probably the most humiliating. Only if you're a teenage boy who's knockered up the courage to kiss a girl and she says that, you can't comprehend just how that feels. But telling the story, I've got more enjoyment out of telling it since to pay back, so I'll have to thank that girl if I ever see her again.
You better not kiss her.
Well, I don't think she'd probably let me anyway. Outlines are a little bit fixed, you'd see what I was aiming at. Well, enough. Thank you so much for coming to this, and we're really pleased to be here. Like I say, I was a little concerned, and there's still maybe a couple more basketball games, and I really try not to be cynical at basketball. What Phil said is right. I get into it. But I think what he said is right, too. I get into preaching about the same way, and I don't know who I once told, but I'm who I am. And I'm really honored and pleased, I guess, and even humbled that you people accept me that way and appreciate me that way, and I try to be the same way toward you. So thank you very much, and this was a total surprise, and I'm, like I said, I'm honored you came. Thank you again.